thank you for the interaction. Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, good. Short question in the beginning, maybe from my side, so that I know a little bit how deep I should dive into PDF technology and PDF A3 in a special. So, who of you has heard about PDF A3 before? Okay, so yeah, most of you. Okay, anyway. So this talk is going to be about what has PDF A3 being made for. I would want to start with a brief introduction. So I think Matt just did that very well. So we can make that very short. And the most important and the major part of the presentation is going to be PDF A3 use cases. And then I want to finish the whole thing and close the whole thing with a conclusion and an outlook. So that Matt has already said, so one of the major differences between PDF A1, PDF A2, and PDF A3 is how their rules are designed with regards to attachments. So you may have attachments in any PDF file, but you can't have those attachments in PDF A, and that is in PDF A1. So just in PDF A1 you can't have them, and that is mainly for the reason because PDF A1 has been designed on the basis of PDF 1.4, and at that time in that version embedded files were simply not allowed or not defined in PDF. Then when PDF A2 came around or was designed, then at ISO people sat together and said, okay, now that it became possible in PDF 1.7 to have attachments in a PDF file, maybe that's a good idea in PDF A2 as well, so they allowed them. But they also said, okay, in an archive format, I would only want to have archivable attachments. So the committee decided to, in PDF A2, only allow for other PDF A files. But then, only 1 year thereafter, ISO came out with yet another version with PDF A3, and in this variant, arbitrary attachments are now allowed. So, and I basically want to answer the question, why did ISO, when it first decided to disallow anything that is not an archival format, why they then came out with PDF A3. But first, a little more about technicalities on PDF A3. So PDF A3 allows for any attachments, but it also has some additional rules for such attachments. But this is mainly metadata, so any attachments need to come with some metadata. There needs to be a MIME type entry, and the MIME type entry indicates what file format that actually is, so whether it's a Word file or an XML structure or whatever, that is being indicated by another standard, the so-called MIME type standard. And then you need to indicate the relationship between the attachment and the main file, and that is done by another metadata entry, and PDF A3 even defines some of these entries, so it could be a source, an alternative, a supplement. We have, I have examples for that later on in this presentation. But you can also say the relationship is just unspecified. And then there needs to be an indication somewhere in the document structure of the PDF file to which part of the document, to which part of the main PDF file this attachment belongs. So whether it belongs to a page or to the whole document or to just a page object or to whatever. So you have some indicator there. And that is basically everything that PDF A3 requires for an attachment in order to be embedded into an archival PDF A file. A little more on a technical side, another slide, and Matt already mentioned that we have PDF 2.0 just half a year ago. It has been published. And actually, ISO decided that all the metadata that the PDF A committee invented for PDF A3 is a good idea. So all these metadata entries, the AF relationship entry, the AF entry, are now also defined in PDF 2.0. So they have been invented for PDF A3, but they are now part of the much bigger PDF 2.0 standard, which means the likelihood that these metadata will show up even outside of PDF A or PDF A3 has increased. And then there is another new thing in PDF 2.0, and this is rather special, but sometimes it's needed, so I thought I'm going to mention it here. You can, in PDF 2.0, it is defined how to reference an embedded file. So you can now have a URL, a file reference, not just to the main PDF file, but also to any embedded files. And this is, for instance, allows you from a document management system also to have a reference not just to the main PDF A3 file, but also to any attachments. So that's about the technical side of the thing. Let's now go back to the main question. So what actually is PDF A3 good for? And I think it's clear PDF A1 and PDF A2, they are always reliable archivable formats. You can just do a validation of the file format, and then you're sure that this is a PDF A file. And PDF A1 and 2 also specify how a PDF A viewer should deal with that data inside of a PDF file. It's obvious PDF A3 cannot guarantee that for the whole container with attachments. It can only guarantee archivability and reliability for the shell or for the container. And to many people, when they first hear about PDF A3, including myself, that seemed to be a contradiction. So, and I want to just show how PDF A3 makes sense and why it may make sense by using some real-world scenarios. So I've got 3 such use cases for PDF A3. The first one has already been briefly mentioned by Matt. So the first case is I have a source file, maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet or a Word file, and I want to archive it, and I know, and I've learned my lesson about that, so I want to convert it to PDF A for that. But if I'm looking at an Excel spreadsheet, I know it's not just the appearance of the whole thing. There is also a deeper level here. We have the formulas in the Excel spreadsheet, and of course all these additional information that is there and the relationships between the cells, that all goes away when I would convert the whole thing into PDF A. So why not combine the advantages of the 2 formats with each other? So why not just embed the Excel spreadsheet into my PDF A3 container and then have a reliable rendition of the same, and at the same time, as long as Microsoft Excel is still around, I would still be able to edit the whole thing or have access to the formulas. Taking this further, I could of course also take advantage of all the other features in PDF A and in PDF. So I could now digitally sign my document with a source file embedded, and that means the digital signature would be applied not just to the PDF A part of the whole thing. I would at the same time also sign the Word file. And in a Word file, it's not easy as in PDF to just embed a digital signature. So you may decide to go for PDF A3 only for the reason to be able to digitally sign the Word file that has been embedded. And in some cases, I have just learned, it's even legally required to do so. So for the very same reasons, the Quebec Transport Ministry requires every engineer that creates drawings for bridges or any other governmental buildings to store that data in a central space, in a central place, but to convert the same to PDF A3 and to embed the digitally signed original file, may it be an AutoCAD file or something, a digital drawing into the PDF file. So it's a use case that is, or a legal requirement that is built upon PDF A3. So, short summary of this first use case, we have a relationship here between the embedded file and the container, which is a source. So the embedded file is a source of the PDF A3 container. And it's good for blind file exchange because it's PDFA, it's archivable at any time, but it still allows you to modify the whole thing if needed. And then maybe you would say, now, okay, but then it's some kind of cumbersome to create that. So do I now first have to create the PDF A3 container from my file and then take the file and embed it into it? Of course not. We have software, and this is one example. So you can do that with current Acrobat, and you could do that with previous versions. So you can just set up the conversion process to do that in just one click. So in just one click, convert the Office file to PDF and embed the source file into the result. That's it. That was not the whole session, it was just the first use case. So now let's move on to the second one. And this was the one that was what the people at ISO really had in their mind when they were thinking about PDF A3. That was combining data to make it possible to process it by humans and by machines at the same time. And the image here is an old variant of that concept. So it even says Washington, D.C. here. So it has some information at the top of it, which is readable for a human, and then it has a much bigger part there that is readable for machines. And this is a great concept. It allows for many, many use cases. So, and Matt just said, we have that in Germany. We have an electronic invoice standard that is called Zugwert, and which is, by the way, currently adopted by France. So we have it in 2 countries in Europe now, and that allows for blind exchange of digital invoices. The goal of the whole thing is for a sender to get away from data from a sheet of paper invoice, but to structured data, so that the receiver can automatically process the invoice and automatically import the data from the invoice to his booking system. But up until Zugwert, before you would do so, you would have to start communication between the sender of the invoice and the receiver. So if you would just send a blank XML file, you would in the first place have to agree that from now on you are not sending a paper invoice anymore, that you start to send XML files. You can get rid of this need for a communication simply by sending hybrid invoices. And the hybrid invoice would then have an image of the invoice so that a human can process the same, as well as some structured data that is embedded as an XML file into the PDF container. And what Zugwert does, it defines that the whole thing needs to be PDF A3 for the main reason that it should become as easy as possible for the receiver of the invoice to get access to the XML file. And PDF A3 standardizes the way how you can find the XML structure in the PDF A3 container. And a similar thing is used in German civil registry, where the people working there, they are required by law to store the data in the form of XML, but the people working there, they don't like to read XML, so they are using PDF A3 so that they have something for the people and something for the machines. And here we've got a different thing. So here the relationship entry says it's, of course, the XML is not the source of the whole thing. The XML is an alternative description of the same data. Okay? So now we are ready for a more complex use case, which is called a digital dossier. And digital dossier, which I have called it so, a digital dossier is richer, so it has more, usually it has more than just one attachment, it has several attachments. So it's a folder, it's a dossier, and then some files that you would want to add to your dossier are not easily convertible. we had the example of Excel or an XML file. You may have images, audio, movies, or just measurements, raw data. Or an email is a good example where you may have as many attachments as you want. And if you want to archive an email, PDF A3 seems to be a good idea to do so. So, and I think this thing, it is good to explain that by using a real world use case. And I'm using here one from Sika, that is a Swiss company, and they are producing chemistry that is used for bridges, vehicles, and so forth. And when they develop such a glue, for instance, for being used in vehicles, they need to do proper QA for the same, of course, or for a bridge. They need to make sure with their glue that the bridge will not break down in, I don't know, 10 years from now. So they need to do proper QA, and they need to document that QA, and they need to save that document together with their project files. And they did so for several years. And they built a digital archive for their files, a project database, which they use as a knowledge base as well. But then one thing happened: the vendor of their project management system just went bankrupt. So what they had to do, they had to replace their project management system with a new system. And then they started doing so, and then they exported all the files. It wasn't a problem, so it was easy to get all the files out of the old project management system. But what was impossible was to get the relations between the documents out of the old project management system. So it was impossible to retrieve the data out of the project management system, which file, which document belonged to which project. So, and then they had to manually enter this information into the new system. And at that time, they decided to, in the future, use a standardized format that would allow them to not just save the documents themselves, but also to save the information which documents belong to which project into a single file or into a structure that can be exported and imported to a new system. And that is when they ended up using PDF A3 for their project files. So PDF A3 gives them the standard format for their projects. What they do, they on the fly create an index file for each project, and then when a project is final or released, when a product is released, and the project is final that created that product, all the data is extracted and put to the overview file, to the index file. And then just a few numbers, they have 17,000 active projects with 40,000 attachments, so quite a lot. Yeah. And that is just one view on the system, so that you maybe have a better understanding of how the whole system works. So you have several steps or stati in your workflow, and once a project is released, then such file is being produced. So an index file, an overview file, where you have all the attachments. As you can see, maybe the attachments, they are basically Word files and Excel spreadsheets. And what they do is they convert the originals into PDF A renditions and embed both files into the PDF container, PDF A3. What I haven't mentioned so far, and what maybe becomes even more important in this case as for the previous ones, whenever you would embed an attachment to PDF, the attachment would be compressed. So you can compare the whole thing to a zip container or so. In fact, PDF uses zip in order to compress the data. So you wouldn't end up with a file that has a size of the total of all attachment file sizes. It would be much smaller. Okay. So the summary for this last use case, we have a project dossier, PDF A3. In this case, the relationship would be supplement because they are just additional supplements for our dossiers, and it allows us to have richer formats in just one folder or in one dossier or whatever. So that are my use cases. Now I'm ready for a short summary and maybe a little bit of an outlook. So summary is there are some good, what I think are really good reasons to use PDF A3. So one is I just want to keep the source file. So I have an Office file or a 3D drawing or whatever, and I just want to keep it and store it together with the PDFA rendition. Another reason is to create files that are readable for humans and machines and at the same time, so that have structured data as well as something that is readable for humans. And a third reason are just digital dossiers, where I have several files that belong to a certain project or something that belong together, and that just glues these files together into something. If we now step back and look at the whole thing, at least we're here at NARA, now look at the whole thing from the point of the archivist standpoint. So from an archivist standpoint, PDF A1 and PDF A2 make their life really easy. It's an archival format, it's an ISO standard that has been designed for archival. And from an archivist standpoint, I would just take these two file formats, A1 or A2, and just put them in the archive, and then I'm done with that. For PDF A3, one has to say, yeah, but this is different for PDF A3, but because here we don't have a validity, it's not possible to validate the whole thing. So I have this attachments, and the use cases that I've shown should say, okay, but if I have a known use case for the same, so I wouldn't want arbitrary files in my archive, but I would want files which make sense in my archive, and if I have control about the workflow that created these files, if I have like for Seeker, and they just know how these PDF A3 files are created and which kind of Word files are being embedded, and that at the same time from this Word file a PDF A rendition is created and also embedded. So if I have control about the workflow that creates PDF A3 file, that there is no reason for not using it. And if you, from an archivist standpoint, what you might also want to do, but this could give just an indication of what you're doing here, you can specify individual requirements. So you may say, okay, in my archive, I only allow for PDF A3 files that have a single file attached, and that has to be an Excel spreadsheet, and the relationship needs to be source. Or similar for an XML file, or where the file name of the attachment is the same as the PDF file name, or whatever. So you can specify those rules, and there are tools for archives that can be used in order to validate also that. So, and that is what I wanted to say with regards to PDF A3 and why, what I think it is good for. So, and I think we have time for questions. Yes, please.
So you talk about attachments, and you talk about automating the attachments. What is actually the software that's creating the PDF A3? Is it Acrobat filing or third-party filing?
It's a good question. Yes, the question is, in which way one would create a PDF A3 file? Would that be an Office file, or would that be Acrobat, right? Actually, both is possible. You could, let's take Acrobat an example. So if you install Acrobat, Acrobat will install export plugins into your Office application, and the one screenshot that I had showed that you can set up these export plugins so that they would automatically create a PDF A3 file out of your Office file. So you can do that at the source application, but you could as well do that in Acrobat. So you could as well just draw, attach a file using Acrobat. So you already have your PDF file, you attach it to Acrobat, and then you convert it in Acrobat to PDF A3. So that would also be possible. And I will have more on that in my 4 minutes later on.
Is that an automated process? Because I just think you can call Acrobat for the server. You can't call.
You can do that. You can do that on the server as well. So you can do that in an automated process. I had this Seeker example, and they basically do that. They have a project management system, and there is nobody who then exports the file and create the project file. So that is done in an automated process in the background, and you can do that with a server application. No, Acrobat is not a server application. So. Also, I mean, I have an example again in my 4 minutes for that, how to do that on the server. And what I also have in my 4 minutes is that we provided the PDF A3 technology for Adobe Acrobat. So you're using the same technology. Yes, please.
Are we saying, two questions here. The A3 format can support any kind of external file?
Yes.
Any kind?
Yeah. Okay, the question was whether one may embed any file into a PDF A3 container, and yes, there is no rule in PDF A3 that would disallow any files.
And the other, going back to the previous session, how does this deal with accessibility requirements in PDF or 508 compliance? Is there any way to attach information for that?
I'm not sure whether they're in PDF UA or so, whether attachments are allowed there. But other than that, I just don't know. But other than that, there is no reason for, or it's not impossible, and it should be fairly easy to create a PDF container that would comply with PDF A3 and PDF UA at the same time. Again, I would have to find out whether PDF UA would allow for embedded files. Was it enough of a repetition of the question? So the question was whether how PDF A3 goes together with accessibility in PDF. Yes, please.
Yes, sir. In regards to your comment about attaching an object to on a A3 representative of signature, did I understood you to say that in a PDF that has a digital signature that you can use A3 to attach the analog representation of that signature? I didn't quite understand that particular example. And a second question is, it's always troubled me when we compress or attempt to put everything into one file. It goes back to my days when we dealt with the blob, and whenever the binary of the blob, got affected, then the entire blob is affected. And so I'm always balancing, is it a good idea to put, 15 files into a PDF as opposed to have them separately existing in a directory? But I'll take the first question, your answer to your first question.
The first question was, if I got it right, how PDF A3 relates to signatures.
You used it as an example, as a justification for A3.
Okay.
I'm confused as to what would the attachment be in relation to the digital signature on the main PDF.
Yeah, the thing is, I have a Word file and I just want to digitally sign it. So I just want to attach a digital signature to that. What I could do I have the digital signature as kind of a file that goes together with the Word file. But in certain workflows, it's cumbersome. So an easy way to achieve the same is to create a PDF A3 container that embeds the Word file and then sign the whole thing, and then you would sign at the same time the Word file as well as the PDF-A rendition of it. And that would allow you to easily find out whether somebody has modified the Word file that is embedded. Okay?
But you would attach the digital signature?
No, the digital signature would just be in the PDF file as it always is. So. Another use case would be, and that is one that Matt has mentioned beforehand, is you have a digitally signed PDF file and you need to convert it to PDF-A. And then if you would do so, you would obviously break the signature. So what you can do, and we have customers that do so, they take the digitally signed PDF file, they create a PDF-A out of it and remove the signature, and then embed the digitally signed PDF file into the PDF A3 container. And then you have both. Of course, this is increasing the file size, but in workflows where you need to have where at the same time you need to have the signed original and to have an archivable PDF rendition out of it, it's the only way to resolve that. And the other question was whether it makes sense to embed so many files maybe into a PDF-A container, because that might create more problems if the file format for whatever reason gets corrupt or something. I mean, what I can say is you embed the files and then they are zipped, and inside of the PDF file they still live. So it would take some programming skills in order to get them out of there, but it's the same problem as if you would create a zip container with all the files in them. So. Yeah, maybe that is it's the same risk, if you want, as if you would create a zip archive out of your originals.
Basically, my concern is the complexity of having the multiple files into the object, and also the size, the aggregation of size. And I'm back and forth on those.
Yeah, I mean, again, everything is compressed, so it's not the total of the sums of the attachments, and then it's as in a zip archive. You could have access to the single files by looking at it and applying the proper decompression algorithms to that. And it's easy to look at a PDF file with a text browser and identify the files over there. So, but these are really technical details. Then I think I want to thank you for staying here with me for my presentation.